Warrior's Darkest Hour, written by Logan Highsmith, CO author Thaddeus Lawrenson. Chapter 1. Several months ago in middle school, I found myself entangled in a romantic relationship with a young girl by the name of Peyton. As with any relationship, we faced our fair share of obstacles and challenges. However, the true test of our bond came in the form of my hesitation to introduce her to my parents. Regrettably, I lacked the courage to disclose our relationship to my loved ones, much to Peyton's dismay. It was during this tumultuous period that my best friend, Hala, took it upon herself to reveal the truth to my parents. In my opinion, this act was not only a gross violation of trust, but also a blatant disregard for my feelings. To make matters worse, I was reminded that Hala, herself, was keeping a relationship secret from her own parents about her boyfriend Grant. In that moment, I was consumed by a primal rage, the kind that clouds one's judgment and drives them towards reckless actions. In hindsight, my reaction wasn't entirely rational, but I couldn't help but feel a burning desire to seek revenge against Hala for her betrayal, or at least what I thought was a betrayal. Over the course of the summer, I had the opportunity to attend a summer camp where I had the pleasure of meeting two young gentlemen by the names of Jacob and Diego. Even at that time, I had a strong intuition that they would play a significant role in my future. As the summer break came to a close, the first day of high school arrived and I found myself faced with a desperate plea for help from Hala. "Logan, I need your assistance. My brother Ryan and his group of friends are pursuing me, can you help me hide from them?" Hala urgently stated. Thinking it was a harmless joke, I responded by jokingly calling out to Ryan about her whereabouts. However, Hala's reaction was far from light-hearted as she angrily screamed at me, "Shut up!" As I made my way to class, I couldn't help but contemplate the predicament Hala was in and realized that I now knew the identity of her brother, leaving me with no reason to withhold this information from him. Upon conducting an email search for the individual in question, Ryan Fawzi, it was noted that his name was the first result within the list of individuals named Ryan. As I entered my choir class, I couldn't help but notice that the majority of my peers were significantly older than me. My involvement in choir was not a personal choice, as my parents had strongly emphasized its importance. However, the presence of older students in the class inevitably induced feelings of inadequacy and inferiority within me. Amidst the classroom setting, two students were engaged in a conversation in the corner. Though my intention was not to intrude in their dialogue, I fortuitously overheard it. "You guys heard what Ryan Fawzi said, right?" the African American boy said. "About what?" the other boy said. This was a very interesting conversation and I knew I had to get involved. I guess they saw me listening into their conversation. I tapped one of the boys on the shoulder. "What are you guys talking about?" I asked. "Something one of our friends did," the African American kid said. "You mean Ryan?" I asked. "You know him?" the other boy said. "Not exactly, I know of him. Who are you guys anyway?" I exclaimed. "I'm Zach and this is Ezzy," Zach stated. "Is there any way I could talk to him after school?" I asked. "Well, do you have any after-school activities?" Ezzy exclaimed. "Yay, I have one, it's called eSports, it's like a video game club kinda," I exclaimed. "What's your name by the way?" Zach asked. "Me, I'm Logan," I exclaimed. "Okay, well we can tell Ryan to meet you there I guess," Ezzy exclaimed. During our lunch break, I had the pleasure of joining Peyton, Jacob, and Diego at our table. However, it was only Jacob and Diego who were privy to my ongoing frustration with Hala. Despite my efforts to conceal it, they persistently conveyed through their expressions that I should disclose this matter to Peyton. As our lunchtime concluded, Peyton and I exchanged a friendly hug before departing for the remainder of our day. During biology class, I had the opportunity to reunite with Jack, an individual whom I had not crossed paths with since the conclusion of our middle school years. As we exchanged pleasantries, Jack inquired about my summer break and my familial circumstances, specifically in relation to Peyton. In response, I provided Jack with a comprehensive overview of the occurrences that have since transpired since our last conversation. Oh dang, I know it's hard, but is revenge really necessary? Jack asked. I think it is, she would learn her lesson, I exclaimed. Jack expressed his opinion by stating, if you say so, but it's not my fault when it backfires on you. I interjected, assuring him that the situation was not as dire as he perceived it to be. However, I suddenly fell silent, unable to complete my sentence. Jack demanded, and then what? What if her family forces her to end her relationship with Grant? What if Grant harbors resentment towards you indefinitely? What if her family restricts her from socializing with boys? In fact, have you considered the possibility of a grave outcome, such as her family taking drastic measures against her? Don't jinx me, I stated. I'll try not to, Jack stated as class ended. Later, the day was finally over and I headed to a sports where my friends Cole, Dyson, and a friend named Ryan Unruh whom I had met in PE class were present. About 2 minutes later, probably less than that to be honest, a tall teenage boy who I assumed was Ryan Fawza walked in the room. Who are you? I exclaimed. Ryan Fawza, Ryan exclaimed. Well, guess that got answered fast. You wanted to talk to me about something, what was it? Ryan exclaimed. Well, Hala, she has a boyfriend, I exclaimed. Okay, good for her, Ryan exclaimed. Good for her, what kind of answer was that? Ryan was not mad in the slightest. You know she already told me about Grant, right? Ryan exclaimed. Both me and Ryan just sorta laughed it out for a minute. So, why did you feel like you needed to tell me? What's the story here? Ryan asked. I explained everything that had happened up to that point and how it got to that. Well, I'm gonna get going now, Ryan exclaimed. Also, don't tell Hala I did this, I exclaimed. Ryan walked off but then turned back stating, I'm totally telling her, by the way. Chapter 2. When I got home, I was talking to Thaddeus about the events of the school day. Oh dude, she is gonna mess you up, Thaddeus exclaimed. Thanks for pointing out what's already clear, I'm more worried about what happens when Peyton finds out the crap I did, I exclaimed. There is a good chance that if you don't say anything she'll never know, Thaddeus exclaimed. Peyton and Hala are best friends, she probably already knows, I exclaimed. Well, some things you find out in time, right? Thaddeus exclaimed. The following day at school, I found myself in my ASL class, surrounded by a group of kids who were acting strangely towards me. They kept repeating the same phrase over and over again, Peyton is cheating on you, she doesn't really like you, we promise. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Peyton would never betray me or turn against me, right? In the corner of the classroom, I noticed a girl around my age sitting alone. She seemed quiet and reserved. Curiosity got the better of me, and I decided to approach her. What's your name? I asked, trying to strike up a conversation. You can just call me AJ, she replied. As we talked, I couldn't help but notice that AJ's gaze kept drifting towards an African American boy on the other side of the room. Intrigued, I inquired about him. Who are you looking at? I questioned. AJ's face lit up as she exclaimed, oh, him. That's Kayla Ryan, he's one of my friends. I couldn't help but tease her a little, you really seem to have a crush on him. AJ quickly denied it, stating, no, I don't. Besides, he's already dating this girl named Maddie Ware. I'll have to introduce you to her at some point. That day at lunch I ran into Peyton, as well as Jacob and Diego. Hey Logan, can we have a private conversation? Peyton asked. Sure, what's up? I replied. Well, the other night, while I was walking with my friend in my neighborhood, we heard a strange noise behind us. When we turned around, there was a man wearing a plague doctor mask. We got scared and ran away. Peyton exclaimed. Okay, but you're safe now, I reassured, but Peyton cut me off. You know, I've noticed that Hala has been acting really weird lately, ever since that night, Peyton continued. Peyton, I know Hala can be unpredictable, but I don't think she would do something like that, I responded. But didn't you mention having a mysterious past? Tell me more about it, Peyton insisted. So, I shared with Peyton everything that had happened before Hala revealed our secret to my parents. That's interesting, Peyton said in a peculiar manner. Also, Logan, have you noticed that you haven't seen your friend Jack since that same night I got attacked? Peyton pointed out. Maybe you're onto something, I admitted. Now that I think about it, why did Hala tell my parents in the first place? Perhaps Peyton was right. Chapter 3 There are moments in life when you stumble upon inexplicable discoveries. The disappearance of Jack and the mysterious man wearing a mask left me with countless questions swirling in my mind. I couldn't help but wonder if these enigmas would ever be unraveled. Determined to find answers, I enlisted the help of Jacob and Diego. Let me make sure I understand this correctly, Jacob inquired. She was assaulted by a man donning the mask of the Black Death. Peyton couldn't contain her excitement as she exclaimed, Yes, that's exactly what happened. Diego, equally bewildered, chimed in, This situation just took a turn for the even stranger. As soon as I arrived home that day, I wasted no time in explaining the entire incident to Thaddeus and the rest of the people who were there. Justin, trying to make sense of it all, asked, So let me get this straight, Peyton believes that Hala sent a masked man to attack her. I nodded and exclaimed, Yep, that's exactly the case. A couple of weeks later, we organized an awesome game truck party to celebrate my birthday. Peyton and several of my friends were invited too. However, I noticed that Justin was acting a bit distant towards Peyton, and I couldn't understand why. Concerned, I asked him, Are you okay? Justin replied, Yeah, she just has this peculiar side to her, if you know what I mean. Feeling defensive, I exclaimed, No, it sounds like you're calling my girlfriend weird. Justin quickly responded, No, that's not what I meant. Let's discuss this later. I don't want to fight right now. The following day at school, I realized that in order to uncover more answers, I had to approach Grant and discuss this matter with him. So, I took the initiative and invited myself over to his place. Hey Grant, can we have a little chat about something? I asked. I proceeded to explain the whole situation to Grant, and he quickly interjected, Do you think Peyton might be messing with you? I don't really want to fight about it right now, besides I'm kinda hungry, I didn't have lunch, I stated. I could reheat some pizza or I could ask my mom to get us some McDonald's, Grant exclaimed. Oh, McDonald's for sure, I exclaimed. Grant's mom decided to treat us to McDonald's. Grant ended up with an incredibly excessive meal. He received not just one, but 2 Big Macs, along with a side of fries and nuggets. If he continued consuming such an enormous amount, he might as well transform into a walking Big Mac himself. To be fair, I did get several things of fries, so I can't be talking, oh yeah, nuggets as well. The following day during lunch, Peyton excitedly revealed something she had observed. She urged me to open a map of Forney on my computer and connect the lines between Grant's house, her house, and my house. To my surprise, the lines formed the shape of a beak. It was too peculiar to be mere coincidence. I can't wrap my head around Jack's situation, I exclaimed. Maybe you should seek advice from Michael Fansler, he might have some insights, Peyton suggested. Nah, I highly doubt it. I'm pretty certain he's being homeschooled again. Michael might be knowledgeable about many things, but this is not one of them, I replied. Chapter 4 After a couple of weeks, I finally mustered the courage to reach out to Jack, a decision I should have made earlier. Hey Jack, I've been meaning to ask you something. Is it true that you had an encounter with a man wearing a creepy plague doctor mask? I trust my girlfriend, but I just wanted to confirm, I eagerly typed in my message. A couple of days prior, during that period, an incident occurred at our school where a young girl tragically lost her life. What made it even more peculiar was the fact that she happened to be a friend of AJ. Following his breakup with Maddie, Kayla Ryan and AJ started dating, which I believe didn't sit well with Maddie. I eagerly waited for Jack's response, and after approximately 10 minutes, a message popped up saying, "No, I've never experienced anything like that. I simply did homeschooling for a short period." In that precise moment, a sudden realization struck me like a bolt of lightning. There was no mysterious figure wearing a mask, and Peyton was blatantly deceiving me right to my face. Moreover, as I pondered over it, certain aspects of her narrative appeared questionable. Who was her companion? What was that peculiar sound? And how did she possess the intuition to look back? As I opened my email, I was eager to talk to Peyton about everything that was going on. However, to my surprise, I found that she had already sent me an email. Peyton's email began with a sense of urgency as she exclaimed, "Logan, there's something I need to discuss with you." Feeling a bit impatient, I responded, "Why don't you just tell me through email?" After a brief pause, Peyton replied, suggesting, "I believe it's best if I explain it to you face to face." Chapter 5. I knew what Peyton was going to say. She was onto me knowing I was onto her. I had realized something very sinister that day about Peyton. I had a feeling she knew something about my past she was hiding. Something about the events of my past related to the neighborhood events with the Warriors and stuff like that, but why? I was well aware that time was running out, and I had a crucial task at hand, to alert both Ryan and Hala. Even if I couldn't convey the message effectively, I had faith that Zach and Ezzy might be able to assist. Ezzy nodded, acknowledging the request. "No worries, we'll make sure Ryan gets the message. But remember, you'll have to fill Hala in on all the details," he said confidently. Zach chimed in, offering a word of encouragement. "Best of luck, Logan. You're definitely going to need it," he stated with a hint of playful sarcasm. "Choir has a practice tonight, that should be your chance to talk to Hala," Zach exclaimed. That evening, I made my way to the school and patiently waited in the room for Hala's arrival. After approximately 10 minutes, she finally entered the room and I wasted no time in recounting all the events that had unfolded. I must admit, I'm a bit perplexed. Did she really claim that I orchestrated a masked assailant to harm her? Hala inquired. I proceeded to narrate the entire sequence of events involving Jack, and as I did, a sudden realization seemed to dawn upon Hala, connecting all the dots in the puzzle. Hala exclaimed, "You're aware that you'll most likely encounter her wrath tomorrow." "I'm unsure of how she's aware, but she is." I inquired. I realized that some time ago, but the real question is how does she manage it? Chapter 6. As the clock ticked closer to lunchtime, anticipation filled the air. I could sense Peyton's presence nearby, and deep down, I knew what awaited me. The moment of truth was upon us, and there was no turning back. I sat at the table. Jacob and Diego were there and I think they knew about as much as I did. I neglected to inform them about the events because I have a tendency to overlook such things. Peyton took a seat at the table, her eyes filled with a burning rage. "You need to talk to her, Logan," Jacob urged. I was at a loss for words, completely speechless, but Peyton wasn't. "Logan, it's over. In fact, it's always been over. I never even liked you from the beginning. You forced me into this relationship, you little jerk," she declared, storming off to join Roman and his friends. Roman, the same kid who used to bully Hala back in 6th grade. It was just another bizarre twist in this whole situation. All I knew in that moment was that Peyton and I were finished. When I arrived home that day, I immediately sensed that something was off. Justin must have picked up on it too because he asked, "Did she break up with you?" Surprised, I replied, "How did you know?" Justin suggested, "Let's go to your backyard and talk about it." Excitedly, he exclaimed, "We can sit on the trampoline." As we settled on the trampoline, I couldn't help but ask, "You knew something about her, didn't you?" Justin's eyes widened as he revealed, something strange happened at your birthday party. She gave me this evil glare. Intrigued, I probed further, there's something else, isn't there? I asked, to which Justin replied, I found images of these peculiar blue drones around the time of every weird incident in our neighborhood. Astonished, I added, she acted really odd when I told her about it. Justin's voice grew more urgent as he connected the dots. Think about it, Logan. Everything that has happened so far. Remember when we first met Catherine and she told us about her brother getting shot? We didn't believe her. And what about those mysterious blurs? The drones had projectors on the bottom. Brennan, what happened to him? Now, with Hala, what if it's all connected? Realizing the gravity of the situation, I agreed, well, I don't think you're far off. All those things she said in the past were lies. Her ex didn't make her hurt that one girl in 8th grade, she did it herself. She never came from Washington, Peyton had been here the whole time, she just said that to make herself look innocent. Determined, I declared, we need to dismantle the Warriors. But we can still remain friends. The Warriors were just pawns doing Peyton's dirty work. Justin nodded in agreement and exclaimed, agreed. We have to inform the others. The end epilogue. Summer break started, more and more of the dots have connected now. What are Peyton's intentions? More questions keep rising in all of our heads. This was just the beginning of the end. Warning, the contents of this book are protected under US and international copyright laws. It is illegal to reproduce, duplicate, store, modify or distribute part or all of the contents in any form, digital or otherwise, without prior permission from the author, Logan Highsmith. Unauthorized reproduction of any part of this book is strictly prohibited and will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.